You're already a friend of mine because you're tuned in to the Get Well with Me podcast. And I want you to come and hang out with me this Wednesday and experience the magic of a live group hypnosis session on Zoom. So look for the link to sign up for Wellness Wednesday in the episode description. And don't resist the urge to click that link because I'd absolutely love to see you there. Welcome to episode 137 of the Get Well with Me podcast. I am your host, Adrianne, and together we explore the healing powers of our subconscious mind while leaning in towards a healthier lifestyle. And our philosophy here is excellence, not perfection. Today, I'm going to share a little bit with you about wellness, about self loathing, and about remaining curious. And why did I just sandwich self loathing into the middle of two positive ideas? And the reason is because many of my clients come to me and what they tell me is that they are not proud of themselves, that they're disappointed in themselves. This question comes up time and time again, which is, why should I bother? Right? How many people do you know have lost all the weight and put it back on? Like, why get all the way to your destination and then just turn around and go back home without checking in to that destination, to that hotel, to that place that you decided that you want to go, and suddenly turn back around and say, no, this is not for me. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to stay the same even after they've already done the hard work. Maybe you can relate to that. And maybe you can relate to turning around and going back to the way that you used to be, even though you have achieved that success that you desired or that you really believed that you desired. So, what can happen is that we can be really mad at ourselves. Like, I can relate to this. I know that there's been times where I've kind of done so good at XYZ, at my career, at my family life, at my health and wellness, and then I sometimes backtrack. And it's that backtracking that can really cause the self loathing. It can really cause us to ask ourselves questions that aren't helpful, like, why do I do this to myself? Why should I even try? Why bother? If you catch yourself saying those things in your own mind, pay attention. Pay attention and decide, is that a helpful question? Is that a question that I really want an answer to? Or do I need to just reset my GPS and move forward? I heard someone recently on a podcast talk about the subconscious mind. They were mindset coach. And it was interesting to hear someone, as far as I could tell, talking all about hypnosis, but never saying the word. And that could be beneficial. I oftentimes think that using the word hypnosis may prevent me from growing as fast as I can on the podcast and social media and things like that. However, I am committed to the word hypnosis because it was a true gift in my life to recognize that there is this word that symbolizes everything from a state of mind to also a process. And it's really become even a philosophy of recognizing that we're constantly being influenced by our environment, by our words, and by the people around us, by the programming that's around us. So I love the word hypnosis, and I have assigned a beautiful meaning to it. So that's why I continue to use it. Plus, I do realize that it does attract a niche audience of people that are specifically interested in how their mind works and using it to get more of what they want and to move closer and closer to who they truly want to be. Back to the self loathing. Self loathing is what happens when we disappoint ourselves, when we're ashamed of ourselves, when we know the right thing to do, but we don't do it. And it's not just you, it's everybody. We all have some degree of this. So, how can we turn it around? And an easy way to turn it around is by asking good questions, right? Like, what do I want? What have been my successes in the past? Take some time right now. If you're working on a goal and you feel frustrated, or maybe maybe you don't work on your goal anymore because you're so disgusted. Like, have you ever met someone who they said that on Monday they were going to quit smoking, and then next Monday they were going to quit smoking, and then next Monday they said they were going to quit smoking, and then they finally decided to just stop trying, to just stop disappointing themselves. Now, there is something to that. If a person truly does not want to quit smoking, like if they don't want to, then they should be honest with themselves and definitely be honest with anyone that might be trying to help them um, reach that goal, because sometimes we'll set a goal because we think it's what we should do and not what we want to do. So one is, it's okay. Like, no one is making you change. No one's making you get healthy. No one is forcing you to eat well. No one is twisting your arm to hydrate. No one is um, throwing you in the car and driving you to the gym and making you do your HIIT workout, which, by the way, I've never done a HIIT workout. That looks very intense, as is in the title. Um, but I'm saying, be honest with yourself. If you want to make a change, the first thing is to make sure that you are the one that wants to make the change. It's not someone else wants you to make the change, right? Because that's typically not enough for us. If our spouse or our family member is giving us some kind of an ultimatum, that might be appropriate. I don't know. I'm not judging the family member, but I know that in order to affect change, we need to really be honest with them, with ourselves, and we need to desire that change. If it so happens that you are that person that is wanting someone to change and they are not cooperating, or they're pretending to cooperate, I would prescribe, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I have thought about that. I actually remember the very first time I saw that. I was in third grade. My teacher was Mrs. Best, and it was on a little metal plaque hanging in her classroom. And I didn't know what serenity meant, and I didn't understand it, but for some reason, I knew it was important, or that it would be important. And in my life, I often have a desire to help people change more so than they want to. Um, so that has been a helpful prayer and mantra for me. And it might also be helpful for you. And when you really digest those words, you realize that in that last sentence, that the wisdom to know the difference is that you can only change yourself. You can't change anyone else. You can love them. You can speak hypnotically to them. You can make helpful suggestions indirectly. There are ways that you can support a person towards helping them be their best selves, but you cannot take responsibility for their success, failure, or for even the desires of their heart. Some people are just not ready to even want to be better. And that's okay. Everyone is in a different place, and we need to have the wisdom to know the difference. So, little side track there. Back to the self-loathing. When a person disappoints themselves so many times, a lot of that comes from making a promise to themselves and then breaking it. And you know how it feels when someone breaks a promise to you? Of course you do. And then imagine when you break a promise to yourself, and you know exactly how that feels as well. And you can see where, I know, right? Buzzkill, like kill the vibe. Just thinking about it, we've all been there. We've all been there. So how can we go ahead and turn those feelings down and increase the the idea of being proud of ourselves by simply asking that question: what can I do that will make me proud of myself? And it could be one little baby step, because when a young child learns to walk, that's what they take, one little baby step. And oftentimes they fall down over and over and over. And at that time in their life, they don't have the thoughts in their mind that say, why bother? No, they just keep trying. And then one day they realize they're moving their left foot and their right foot and back and forth, and they're walking and they're standing straight and they're able to explore new terrain. So it's so wonderful to recognize that we have that ability in us from the very beginning, and we can ask ourselves questions that are helpful. That's a great one. What can I do to make myself proud today? How can I support my wellness today? And sometimes it's as simple as drinking just a couple sips of water before you have your coffee, just that idea of hydrating before popping some stimulants and diuretics into your beautiful body. So, how can you support your wellness today? That might mean investing in a new pillow. That might mean trying something new. That might be challenging your limiting beliefs around fruits and vegetables and whether you like them or not. There are so many fun ways that we can support our wellness. I want to get into like a little side tangent about our liver. Do you know our livers are cleaning our blood every 6 minutes? Right? That's amazing. And that when we support our liver, we can support all of our wellness because our liver is really on our side. It can actually function at a very limited capacity, and a person might not even realize that it's functioning on a very limited capacity because it's so amazing. It's always on your side. Everything that you breathe in, that you can smell, like imagine if it's like a perfume or a candle, that all has to go in and be filtered by your liver. And your liver is capable of doing many different functions at one time. And it's brilliant and it's smarter than you are, that I am consciously. It does all of these things automatically. And you know what else does things automatically? All the systems and functions of your body. They have the ability to work in harmony to support you and to support your ability to live this life. And what if we just did something nice for our liver? What if we had a little bit of lemon water, or we remember to take our vitamins, or we consumed some cruciferous vegetables? You're like, you're losing me on the cruciferous vegetables. Hey, when you convince yourself that they are so good for you and that they are going to make you feel good and they're going to make you more attractive and they're going to support your liver that's supporting the whole rest of your body, you may be able to convince yourself that cruciferous vegetables are a good idea. Getting some of that sulforaphane into the body so it can help aid you in natural detoxification. I just wanted to share with you that we can ask ourselves good questions. How can I support my wellness today? That is part of remaining curious. How can I reduce self-loathing today? By doing the things that make you proud of yourself. Right? A lot of times that happens while we're at the grocery store. How can you support your wellness in the grocery store by recognizing that perhaps late at night your willpower might be depleted, and that box of cookies, if it happens to be within arm's reach, could easily disappear? What if it just disappeared from your cart before you ever made it to the checkout line? And then you woke up in the morning and you felt so good about yourself because there wasn't a temptation that was in arm's reach. I operate that way. I look around at shopping carts and I watch what people put in their shopping carts. And then I watch the way that they carry themselves and I look at them and I wonder, is that a person who's proud of themselves? And you can tell by their posture. You can tell by their interactions. You can tell by if they're leaning down on their cart or if they're proudly pushing or pulling their cart around and reading those labels and looking at the beautiful fruits and smelling them and thinking about what it is that they can put into their cart that can support their wellness. What can you put into your cart that can support your wellness? What can you delete from your shopping cart to support your wellness? What questions can you ask yourself to make sure that you wake up in the morning feeling confident that you're going to have a day that will allow you to rest your head on the pillow that evening and feel satisfied and thankful and proud that you did make good choices? I know I'm going on and on about wellness and vegetables and things, and maybe that's not for you. Maybe you listen to this podcast just for the stress relief and the anxiety relief. But I hope that I am able to ask you some questions or plant some seeds in your mind that can continue to grow, because that's truly how it works. We don't walk out to our garden and a flower suddenly appears. No, it starts as a seed or a little plant, right? And day by day, it grows into its full potential. And if you are a living person and your heart is beating and your lungs are breathing, then you are still growing in that garden and aiming to reach your full potential. So I encourage you to ask yourself good questions, to turn the volume down on the self-loathing. I want to remind you of the things that are true about you. Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time that you really felt good? Do you remember that time that you won? You won something. Maybe it was a sporting event. Maybe it was a lottery ticket. Maybe it was a board game. Maybe it was so much bigger than that. Do you remember that time that you suffered through excruciating pain? And do you recognize that it was temporary? And you are well now? We often suffer in this life, and it is imperative to remember that we can endure pain when we have a purpose. And it is imperative to remember that this too shall pass. And it is imperative to remember that there have been times that we have overcome. You've been through some really difficult things in your life, haven't you? I know you have. And you survived. You're still here. You got this. Do you remember when you did that thing that you thought was absolutely impossible? Maybe you did quit smoking. Maybe you did run that race. Maybe you did pass that test. Maybe you did survive to fight another day. And you are here now. And it is safe to be here now and to play in this life and to live in this life. And it is safe to ask yourself questions like, who do I want to be? And what actions can I take to be more and more of that person? Do you remember that time that you got good news? That's right. It's amazing how when we are not intentional about remembering what we've overcome, when we're not intentional about giving ourselves credit where credit is due, because there have been those times. And it's important to remember who we are and to identify with the best version of ourselves. Something that we can do for ourselves is see the best in ourselves. Something that we can do for others is see the best in them. And by speaking to them in a way that acknowledges their most noble motive. I think that's from um, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Something about always assume the person's best motive, right? Assume that the person is honest. Assume that the person had good intentions. Assume the best about someone, right? And set that expectation. Oftentimes, people will live right up to our expectations. As a matter of fact, a big part of hypnosis is expectations. It's what you think is going to happen is what happens. And that is so true in so many different aspects of life. It's definitely true when it comes to bringing up children and influencing children. It's important to have positive expectations, not pressure, but positive expectations, to expect that the child is honest, to tell them to tell them what they can be. And a lot of times they will live up to that. So I wanted to share with you from The Rain Barrel Effect. I know I keep bringing this book up all the time, but it's because I really love Dr. Stephen Cabral. I was listening to his podcast. I listen to it every morning because it reminds me of my wellness. It helps me to ask myself good questions about how I want to treat my body. And also, I want to just kind of side note, I am not perfect in any way. Yes, I like to listen to wellness podcasts. And yes, I like to drink smoothies and eat lots of vegetables. But you know what? I also like to do things that are not good for my body. And I do those things. So it is um it is about excellence, not perfection. It is about striving to be better. It is about asking those questions. What can I do to support my wellness today? Instead of, wow, I really overdid it this weekend. Why bother? No, I look forward to Monday mornings. I look forward to my healthy routine. I look forward to seeing how my body can heal so rapidly. Um, I on the 4th of July, I skinned my knee, and I hadn't skinned my knee in a really long time. It really felt just like it did when you're a kid and you like fall off your bicycle and you get a skinned knee. It totally was a similar experience. And I've just been watching it heal. And it's like practically healed. And I thought that's so amazing because I don't know how to make my knee heal, but it knows how. There is intelligence in every cell of your body, trusting that, believing that you heal according to your youthful blueprint. It is so important. Okay, so Dr. Stephen Cabral in his book, The Rain Barrel Effect, awesome book. Definitely get it. It's actually free. Just pay shipping. It's out there. You'll find it. The Rain Barrel Effect. He says, so how did I change my mindset? Because this is a person who was very sick that was told at a very young age that they're never going to get better. That's really bad hypnosis from doctors. So I believe that if you've been told that you can get better. I do. I believe that you can get better. I believe that you will get better. I believe that you are getting better right now. I believe that you are a healing machine. I believe that the more and more that you reduce toxicities, like take out the things that aren't good for you and put in the things that are good for you and support your wellness, healing is the only thing that can happen. So he says, how did I change my mindset? What happened was that I got fed up. I couldn't live with the emotions I was struggling with. I felt like a victim. I felt helpless. I felt weak. And these are all the qualities that I didn't want for myself. When I read this, it is so hard for me to imagine Dr. Cabral identifying as a victim. He is the opposite of victim. He said on his podcast the other day, someone wrote in with a health question, and he said, a healthy person cannot be sick. It is healthy to affirm that you are healthy. It is healthy to do the things that make you healthy. I added just to what he just said. What he did say was that a healthy person is not sick, right? So identify as healthy. Okay, here we go. So he was feeling bad. He was feeling weak. He was feeling like a victim. And he goes on to write in his book on page 290. So I want to ask you, just like I've asked thousands of others before you, what do you want for your life? How do you want to feel? How do you want to see yourself? What fires you up and gives you energy? This is what I'm talking about. These are the questions. Ask good questions, get good answers. And I don't mean write out an answer to these questions. I mean, let your subconscious chew on these, to mull these over, to internalize these questions, to digest these questions, to produce answers while you sleep at night. Have you ever, it happened to me just the other day. My mom had said to me about a particular teacher from grade school that my sister had, and we were talking about the bad hypnosis that the teacher gave to the child, saying that this child's never going to get it, that it's not going to click. That's bad hypnosis for the teacher. So strike one against the doctors and strike two against the teachers. And I say that because people who have authority do not recognize, or perhaps they do, maybe we are the ones that need to recognize that when someone has authority, they are the hypnotist. When they have authority, they are the one that has the ability to program someone's mind. The person with the stethoscope, the lab coat, the chalkboard or dry erase board, right? That authority that they have, it really is responsible for the programming of people. Yes, we can challenge it. Yes, we can ask good questions. But when I think about all of the children out there who are not living to their highest potential because they were told that they wouldn't, that's the kind of stuff that makes me do this podcast. That is the desire of my heart, is to make sure that people do know that they are the driver of their own bus. That's, bridging off of yesterday's episode. Anyway, let's ask ourselves these really awesome questions again. Dr. Cabral says, so I want to ask you, just like I've asked thousands of others before you, what do you want for your life? How do you want to feel? How do you want to see yourself? What fires you up and gives you energy? He goes on to say, don't answer what you think you should be saying, but instead shoot for your ideal. Don't place any limits on yourself. What does your best self and ideal life look and feel like? So let's leave it there and let's chew on that. Let's chew on that. And if you have something specific and you want to write it out, or you want to turn it into a definite purpose statement, or if you want my help with that, or if you want to come to Wellness Wednesday and saturate your mind with all kinds of beautiful pictures to beautify the inside environment of your mind, I would really love that. But ask yourself those good questions, and ask yourself this question: what can I do to make myself proud of myself today? Direct your energy away from the self-loathing and the unhelpful questions like, why bother? Because why bother? Because you're worth it. That's why. Okay. If your subconscious is asking you that question, if you catch yourself thinking, why try if I'm going to just go back to the way that I used to be? Why try if I'm just going to self-sabotage? Why try? Because you're worth it. That's right. You're worth it. So until next time, much love. You're already a friend of mine because you're tuned in to the Get Well with Me podcast. And I want you to come and hang out with me this Wednesday and experience the magic of a live group hypnosis session on Zoom. So look for the link to sign up for Wellness Wednesday in the episode description. And don't resist the urge to click that link, because I'd absolutely love to see you there.